Good evening from Singapore or Australia or even New Zealand. Good morning from the United States, Canada, all South America, and then you can add and subtract your hours to wherever you are at whatever time of the day. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network LLC. Educate, enlighten, and entertain. The whole truth, nothing but the truth. So I help you to no misinformation or misleading facts. Welcome to the State of Current Affairs with your host, Lillian Cauldwell and Viki Esther Chang from Singapore. And today we're talking about, you guessed it, tariffs. Mr. Trump is busy telling everybody how much not the foreign nations, but the citizens of the United States are going to pay the privilege of having these imports. And without further ado, here is Viki.
Hi, thank you, Lillian. We are on State of Current Affairs, and this show has continued for about 3 to 4 months already, I suppose, because we started off State of Current Affairs on my platform, the Platinum platform on Facebook, and It's My Life on YouTube, and now it's found its a home at this point in time with Lillian Cauldwell at State of Current Affairs at Passionate World Talk Radio. And with this, we talk about economy, economics, democracy, people, power, countries, corruption, and hopefully some good news and some heartwarming news that comes our way in this, I should say, very unpredictable, ambiguous, and uncertain times of the world. And today I've got a couple of topics. Of course, we want to talk about Mr. Donald Trump, the President-elect 47 of United States of America. We may talk about it more because we're going to dedicate about 20 to 20 minutes to talk about economy and business. And we'll talk more about his imposition of 25% of tariffs on imported goods from Mexico and Canada and 10% of imports from China. And what are the implications for the rest of the world, and what we can see his action right now points to the future. And we will see if the CEO has this policy, how will it filter to the rest of the management, if we're going to liken it to a corporation, the big American corporation right now. So we'll talk more about the tariffs at the end of the show, and we'll continue tomorrow. I've got a couple of probably two good news articles, or two nice recreational articles, followed by one article that I should pose a question to all our listeners and the audience. The first article from Forbes, and you know Forbes, Forbes, Forbes.com, and Forbes is one of the biggest, most authoritative news platforms for wealth management and for high net worth individuals. It says here, the news was published a couple of days ago in October. It says Forbes Travel Guides inaugural luxury air travel awards, from the best airlines and private jet carrier to the top culinary program and lounges. It introduces new metrics-based accolade for high flyers. And in this article, it talks about the top countries that has been awarded the best whatever, right? The best airline, the best airport, the best jet. So the best international airline is the Emirates, followed by the best U.S. airline is Delta Airlines. I'm not quite sure, so I'm going to ask Lillian. The best U.S. airline within USA is Delta Airlines. The best jet is called NetJets. the best international airport, Singapore Airport, the Singapore Changi Airport, proudly presenting to the world. Please come here because we need the travel dollars. And Lillian, ever since Donald Trump has been elected the 47th president, I receive emails from my international counterparts like they would like to move to Singapore, and I'm not kidding. People are telling me they like to move here. They like to escape from the new administration. The best U.S. airport, La Guardia Airport,
LaGuardia,
is LaGuardia Airport. The best
smaller
U.S.
version of
airport.
JFK.
Okay, the best first class. Okay, belongs to the Emirates Airlines. The best international business class, Qatar Airways. The best domestic business class, Delta Airlines, domestic within the US, which is Delta Airlines again. The best independent airport lounge is Louis Vuitton Lounge at the Hamad International Airport. And I don't know where Hamad International Airport. It sounds like it's in the Middle East. And a lot. Okay, the best wine list is Air France. The best culinary program is by Air Emirates. And you've got a couple of more important airlines. Okay, one more. The best private airport experience, Heathrow VIP. Heathrow is in the UK, of course. I've been there a couple of times. And also, the best airport wellness experience is again Singapore Airport. So I'm bringing that up because I'm proudly Singaporean. So I like to highlight that the Singapore Airport features twice here. And of course, I'm taking this opportunity to do some shameless promotion for Singapore. If people, your listeners, and your audience and viewers, they are interested in visiting Singapore, why not sign up to Lillian Cauldwell or text the number that's running below to indicate there you are interested in visiting Singapore. And hey, we may organize an exclusive private tour for you. And lest you do not know, it could run into the thousands because Singapore is famous or notorious for the cost of living. So that's the first recreational news, Lillian. So yesterday we had this heartwarming story, and today, please dig into your piggy bank, break your piggy bank, and take every penny you've got. You know, you deserve to really like think about, just get out from that cozy comfort zone or that cozy couch that you have. I know a lot of Americans would like to have your remote control and sitting on your bed, sitting on your couch. But I think sometimes it's always good to travel just to take a look at another country. And that may really open up your mind and your eyes. And you never know, it does a lot of wonders for your spirit. People who are feeling depressed due to work, due to the election, due to the future, or due to the bad news that's coming up from many parts of the world. And if you can raise funds from your family, from your loved ones, or do a bootstrap, meaning just get money from your friends, and tell them that, you send them the best Instagram pictures. So that's the little bit of recreational news for you. The next recreational news for everyone. Um, Here again, Singapore Airport has the world's best airport by the Forbes Travel. Um, so I'm just going to show everyone a picture. If you do not already know, um, this is a huge waterfall. Not quite sure if anyone
I
can
can
see
see it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge waterfall. And we are proudly, um, inviting the world to visit us. Just a little bit about Singapore. It's full of diversity, right? Myself, a Baptist Christian. My mom is a converted Christian just 2 years before her passing and her going to no, doing going to the Lord. Um, but my sister is Buddhist. My best friend is Muslim. My best friends are Hindus, and my neighbor is just like 2 meters across the apartment from where I live, and they are Malaysians and Indians, and they practice their faith. There are Buddhists, there are Taoists, and we have different faith. We have the Mormons here also. We have the South Koreans here also. Um, that's something that I want to say is that we do accept anyone and everyone as long as they do not disrupt the peace and harmony, and there's respect for everyone. So we don't frown on anyone. We try to understand. And I was being asked a question: what is the most important quality we have at this time in the world right now? And I said compassion. Is it ethics? Yes. It is. Is it integrity? Yes. Is it innovation? Yes. Is it money? Yes. But compassion is most important. But what is compassion? And I would like to highlight this in the context of Singapore. It is really about patience. The precursor and the precondition for compassion that I see it and we practice here in Singapore is patience. Patience as in not just waiting for the car, waiting for the taxi that comes, waiting for the Uber driver who's late. Really patient as in understanding your neighbor who's just next door, meaning figuratively, your neighbor, um, why the person speaks differently, why the person practices a different faith, um, why the person behaves a different way, um, why the person have they have a different kind of value, why they react in a different way. People can be violent, people can be impatient, people can make their stand very strongly, but I think the value of being Singaporean is we step back and we just smile. I think that's very important because I have got people coming onto my face, like, saying very bad words about my faith, but, I just smile. And just like the same way I do for my grandparents, my cousins who are all Buddhists, because we are born in the Buddhist household. It has been here for many generations, but I'm a converted Christian. But, there is a lot of tolerance, respect, and understanding and acceptance. And the word for a country like in Singapore, that we have 6 million people in a very little tiny island that's just 1.5 hours from the west to the east that we drive, and we're stacked above each other, is just respecting each other, and making sure that harmony um, is the topmost. That means not breaking anybody's peace, not going into anyone's space to stake your claim to say that you are wrong and I am right, but really embracing. So the first thing as an educator, when I meet an international student, when they come into Singapore, be it a group of international students from this European country, or from or this Asian country, or from a third world country, the first thing I say: when you step into a particular country like in Singapore, because you have not left your country before, like a lot of us have not left our country before. A lot of us do not own passports, and they leave their hometowns the first time. And we have an international group of people coming here for the first time in their lives. Whether they're coming from China, they're coming from Cambodia, from Laos, from Thailand, from China, from Europe, into an Asian country, they usually come to Singapore as their first stop in Asia or Indo-Pacific. And I always, share with my international audience here, the truth is, when you enter into a space where it's that's full of diversity, it's always to embrace. And I tell my students, my friends, always reach out and always smile and always reach out with your hand first, because you can't wait for the other person to reach out a hand to you. So we've got a diversity of even Christianity, diversity of Christianity, Presbyterian, the Seventh-day Adventists. We've got the Methodists, we've got the Baptists, we've got the independent faith followers. We've got the Catholics. We've got the New Age Christians. Just within people who believe in Christ, there are so many so-called denomination. And also within the faith of Buddhism, there are also different schools of Buddhism. And even in the schools of different kinds of faith, like Catholics, there are different kinds of, they are influenced by the local culture and the local value. So I would say that when you come into a country like in Singapore, whomever you are, if you're thinking of visiting a country like in Singapore, because this is the first time you're leaving your country, a lot of us leave our country for the first time. People are different, and people will speak differently, and people will behave differently because everyone have their idiosyncrasies. So my first word to all the international counterparts that visit me, I've got international friends, the first thing is to embrace and not to, haha, you shouldn't be doing that. Rather, I think the only thing we do here proudly, successfully, is to say, yes, I smile and I accept that. So, two recreational news for you. The Singapore news for everyone that says that Singapore is voted number one in terms of our airport and our wellness. And also, however, I've got another article that I'm going to show to everyone. Sadly, a Singapore student who is studying in Brussels in Europe, um, he was stabbed in the city of Brussels, and he died instantly. And it was stabbed. Um, the student who was 21 years old was stabbed by two 18-year-old locals. And I've been to Brussels. Brussels is the capital of Belgium. That was one of the earliest cities I went to about 20 years ago. So he was stabbed. He's 21 years old. He was there um, to study in a university, in a school, and he was a good student. So I don't know why this has happened. There's a lot of speculation. But when you go to another place, you have to be careful because the world is not Disneyland. That's what I always say. The world is not Disneyland. Two articles that I shared, recreation is always good to fly. But one article that is a reality check, a student that is 21 years old was stabbed, I think, a couple of weeks ago in Brussels. And I think when you hear a news like that, it is sad. Why is he stabbed? What's the motive? Was it a robbery or was it a hate crime? Um, what what's the reason that happened? So I just want to bring this up as a commentary. It is recreation, but it's also reality check. So when you do go to another country, Singapore is safe, and we welcome everyone. Um, but I would say that every country has their own way of doing things. If you're not entering Singapore, you're entering into another country, you've got to be careful. So, another very good promotion um, from me. Sad to say that there are countries that are witnessing violence in the streets. If you look at the news in Europe, in London, in many, many countries, there are just senseless people just stabbing people in the street. So I don't want to talk about that because it is sad. But I do urge everyone to be careful when you do travel, and also make your preparation, be very careful. Choose a safe country, and Singapore is a safe country. We welcome everyone to be here. Just break your piggy banks, I would have to say. Yeah, you've got to pay for the premium of safety. you've got to pay a premium for it. And I'm not kidding. We put up a lot of throughout the years, a lot of programs to make sure we respect everyone and welcome our international visitors here. There's low crime, but doesn't mean there's no crime. It's very low crime here. You can be sure that if you lose your wallet in a taxi, you can probably find it um, at the nearest police station or at the hotel when they make an internal call to the taxis. So very Singapore is a safe country with a lot of honest people, and I welcome everyone, and I thank everyone locally to welcome our international guests as they make their way to Singapore. Yeah, we're witnessing a wave of travelers to Singapore. That is two recreational news, but one reality check that just came out a couple of weeks ago from Europe. So it's sad, but we really have to embrace and be tolerant, and to really consider what it means by embracing diversity, and embracing people with different values. So that's the three articles, and the final article, which I will not talk about, but hopefully tomorrow we'll talk about. The headline is from the Japanese news, Nikkei Asia. Trump's latest tariff proposal rips through Asian stock markets. And the Japanese stock market fell 2% today. And 2% is huge. When you're talking about the whole uh, stock market, it could mean billions and billions and billions of dollars just wiped out within the day. So we'll talk more about tariffs and the definition of tariffs tomorrow. That's the new show, a state of current affairs, business, and tech. And hopefully, I can bring on new news of the technology, and the AI debate about generative AI and how it's going to explode and disrupt our lives and the economy. Over to you, Lillian.
For those people who think about running away from the United States to another country, let me remind you of this little thought that I discovered a long time ago. If you have baggage, problems, you're not going to get rid of them when you go to a new country. You just take it with you. So if you're unhappy with what's going to happen in the United States, you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. And those countries have their own little internal problems in terms of politics, military. And when I mean military, a lot of these countries, even the Western countries, have armed soldiers in the streets. If that upsets you, don't bother going to Israel. Because Israel has mandatory civic and military duty for 2 years. And if you go over there and stay and indicate that you want to become part of the citizenry, guess what? You'll be not asked, but demanded to participate in the 2-year rule, which also means that you're more subjected to bombings than you are in the United States. Although the United States, you don't have to be bombed by the enemy. No, we have the privilege of being bombed by our own people here in the United States with all the access to the weaponry and the bomb making material that's available. So be very careful. And I've noticed a lot of celebrities are running away to go to England, and that's number one on Putin's hit list. Really? I wonder if President Trump is going to levy a tariff on Russia for when they export or we import their missiles from their nuclear stockpile. Something to think about. All I'm saying is you just may find out that the grass is not greener on the other side of that pond, and that no matter how bad things here are in the States, guess what? It may be worse overseas. So I would do a little research on that particular country. Oh, and there's one other thing. You know how the United States is upset about the immigration problem? Well, the Western nations have the same feeling against immigrants coming into their country because Europe is so small and live on top of each other. They won't take kindly, not like Canada, to welcome all these Americans into their social political system. Americans seem to be rather arrogant about who they believe are their friends overseas. And I've got to tell you, it started a long time ago. Because during the 19th century, of course, all the wealthy children of the wealthy industrialists were sent to Europe to finish off their education. And we were sort of welcomed then, but we're definitely not welcomed anymore. So before you throw your hat into the ring, my friends, I would suggest you have a long heart-to-heart talk with a friend overseas and find out where Americans are not welcome. Apparently, there is a hit list of about 25 places overseas that Americans are not welcomed.
We'll find that out, Lillian. But you know, the lot of countries right now, the residents are protesting because there's over tourism. One of the countries are Portugal and Spain, because they are just like flooded with tourists all over the world. So I'm just like, it's just a reality check. I'm saying, like,
It's a reality check.
yeah,
And
it's a reality
people
check.
have to realize that running away from your country is not going to make things any better. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not running to Singapore. I have barely enough funds to maintain the United States. And the same thing is true overseas. Living there is quite different than visiting there. And once you give up your citizenship in the United States, they may not want you back, which is an interesting thought. And if you try to come back to the United States, you would be considered an immigrant. Oh my God. So, my advice to you is as bad as it seems here, compared to the rest of the Western nations, there are some things overseas that you cannot get overseas. How do I know this? Because I have a lot of friends overseas who are always asking me to buy ABC 123 and ship it to them. Stuff that here in the States we take for granted. I did some investigated research, and it doesn't pay for me to move overseas because it'll be very difficult for me to get my prescriptions. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You're stuck with me here in the United States. And that wraps it up for this edition of State of Current Affairs with your host, Viki Esther Chang from Singapore and Lillian Cauldwell from Warnersville, Pennsylvania, USA. Thank you very much for listening. If you're brave enough, you can listen and view this State of Current Affairs over again. Go over to passionworldtalkradio.com. Scroll down to State of Current Affairs, click on the link, takes you to the webpage. There's a Google link. It will take you to the belly of the beast, YouTube. Also, have a memoir about yourself or your father-in-law or that colorful relative that did make a difference, contact us, pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com, and get in touch with either I or Viki, and we will help you get set up and get that memoir out to the wide world. If nothing else, it'll give them something to do in the 2 or 3 space stations that are going up. And if they are thinking of settling Mars, well, they can always use it as toilet paper. Look at it that way. Biodegradable ink shouldn't hurt you. Thank you very much for listening. Please join us tomorrow when we start with State of Current Business Affairs, because we all know that businesses are linked at the hip with politics and the economy. Thank you all very much for listening. And the money, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. Sooner or later, you either pay in the beginning, you pay in the middle, or that balloon payment at the end. So spend your tourist dollars wisely. Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow.